Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us today on ClueCon Weekly. Today our guests are Fred Posner and Dan Jenkins, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about Fred's most recent blog post, When Open Source Telephony is Under Attack. So I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Thank you, Madison. It's always great to be on. And hey, Dan, it's fine to see you.
Thank you very much, Fred.
It's great to talk about open source telephony, and I would first love to give SignalWire a huge pat on the back. The move to GitHub is something that's phenomenal and something that the open source community is. The feedback that I've heard has been very positive.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the amount of work that took, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm hoping that it brings forward more participation, more collaboration, and it's just such a great thing to see for the project and for SignalWire itself. I cannot thank everybody there enough. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. We all know Git, even though some people might say Bitbucket or whatever the internal version or the paid for version of Bitbucket is, Stash or whatever it's called, from Atlassian. It's all Git theoretically, isn't it? And so developers just see it as, oh, it's Git, and oh, you can make tickets, and there's a wiki, and so really, what's the difference? But as developers, we all know there's a huge difference. So I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of the shift from the community, from that not moany or anything like that, but the shift from, oh, how do I get involved? I want to get involved, but it's too complicated to get involved. I need to go create a new login for this ticketing system that I don't really like and is really complicated. Whereas GitHub, not necessarily better, just that's where everyone is.
Right.
And so that's really, really, really important. I remember talking to Evan about it at ComCon back in July, saying we really need to do something along these lines. I think it's one of the things that the Asterisk project didn't get right, however many years ago, when they were moving from SVN over to Git. And I can't wait to see people getting more involved. Camelio projects on GitHub, isn't it, Fred?
Yep.
And they see great community involvement, I'm sure, because of it. So,
it makes it very simple to open up issues, to get exactly what you said. So it's not that GitHub is better, and no one, I think, would say, oh, GitHub is the best version of Git out there. But it is one of the most widely used.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the learning curve for someone to participate in a new project is very, very small. And we do see a lot of issues being opened up that do not have to go through a special Camelio login and credentialing. It's just simply, hey, I'm a user on GitHub, as well as it's very easy for someone to find the project and participate, and it's open source. And
learning all those special Git commit messages to be able to close things. It's easy, isn't it? It says it closes, and then the issue number, and then that's it. We know these; they're just standard. Whereas the Atlassian ones, I couldn't tell you. The Asterisk ones, couldn't tell you. The Garrett, I think they use. It's just a brilliant move. Much appreciated.
Well done.
Kudos. The team has been working really hard in that aspect, and I think one of the things that they're most excited about is the opportunity to present something that is user friendly and widely available. So thank you guys. So tell me a little bit about this blog post here. I'm very curious about this.
I like
Fred, let me just tell a very quick story. So I was at JanusCon in Italy.
Oh, how was it?
Oh, it was really, really good. Really, really good.
Wonderful.
Great videos online. You should go look at their
Oh, I
YouTube.
definitely will, yeah.
But I was in Italy at JanusCon, and then I get this message from Fred saying, "Have you seen this tweet?" And I look at the tweet, and Sangoma haven't been great with their tweets very recently. And I kind of looked at the tweet and went, "Oh, not another bad tweet," and then just kind of forgot about it. And it was only when I got back to my hotel room that I looked at it properly and saw the blog post associated with it.
in Dan's defense, I do hit him a couple times a day with things like, "Have you seen this tweet?" So it's easy for him to just go, "Oh, come on, look at this."
I read the tweet, I read the blog post, and I got extremely angry.
So what did the tweet say?
Let me read you the tweet. So it says, "Is it possible to outgrow an open source PBX? As your business grows, you might need to move to a more business orientated solution with enhanced features and support." And then a link to the blog post titled, "Is it possible to outgrow an open source PBX?" So yeah, I'm not going to read the blog post, but it basically says open source will fail you at some point, and the only way to get past that is by taking out a commercial solution such as PBExact from Sangoma. You will
The implication even was that it's supported by your techie guy in the shadows, basically doing everything they can to keep it up and running, so that it's not
what happens if
stable.
You as the creator of a company goes, "Oh, what I'm going to go run this cool thing called Asterisk for my phone system because I'm a one-man band," and then you grow to 2 or 3, and that's still okay. And then you get to 5, and then you're really busy, so you don't really want to be dealing with adding extensions and adding phone numbers and whatever else. You don't want to be managing it anymore. So you might pass it on to someone else who doesn't have a clue, or a techie person within the company said, "Oh yeah, this is really great," but then they end up leaving 2 years later, and then you're stuck with a air quote mess of an open source PBX.
The line that set me off was, if you wanted to do more than a simple phone call, then you can't use open source. And to me, that was an insult and an extreme disservice to what open source provides. For example, I wouldn't consider what we're doing now a simple phone call. It's phenomenal, and it's based on open source. The earliest I'd seen something like this, and it was very similar but much shorter than a piece that Mitel wrote 2 or 3 years ago at this point, where they said that there were 7 big risks of using open source. And whenever you do that, okay, have you outgrown open source? Is there a risk to open source? It's what we call FUD, which is, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and trying to create one of these 3 elements to sell your commercial version. Now, everyone in this conference is here because we have a bank account that is somewhat funded by our use and promotion of open source. So none of us are anti-money. I like money. Money's nice. I'd like more of it. So I'm not shooting down commercialization of services and of products. There's ways to do it, but to say that open source is bad, proprietary is good, is simple FUD, especially when you're doing things like making it feel as though, well, open source can only be supported by that techie guy, and it's thrown together. You can only do simple phone calls. And I'd expect more from anyone, let alone a company now responsible for one of the most widely used open source projects, or two of the most widely
Yeah, I
used
was going to
open
say
source.
responsible for two, Asterisk and FreePBX.
Right. And it was alarming to use the same kind of FUD that I've seen from Microsoft, IBM, Mitel, and the like. And it was something that needed a response. And it clearly hit Dan the same way, I feel.
Oh yeah, yeah. So obviously, I tweeted Sangoma back and said it made me physically angry to read it, because I've put the past 7 or 8 years into supporting the project in different ways, not with code. I can't write C, but through many different ways, including speaking at Astricon. As we all know, that costs money for speakers to go, and some of the time without any what am I trying to say?
Compensation in return.
Without any compensation, not necessarily compensation from the conference organizer, but sometimes you don't get any business out of it.
Well, you're not allowed to promote yourself in that way.
Right. So you can promote yourself for like your 30 seconds of this is me and this is what I do, and then you carry on, because you're there to talk about open source software rather than Nimble Ape in my case, LOD in Fred's. So yeah, it just made me really, really angry. I tweeted back, and then that kind of started the ball rolling of many, 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 many people within the community getting very angry with Sangoma. If it was a one-time thing, up at like, if this was the first time this had happened, then I'm sure Fred and I would have probably just let it go. But it wasn't the first time. There'd been kind of, not to this level, but there'd been quite a few tweets. There'd been quite a few blog posts over the past couple of months, considering Sangoma took the Asterisk project last September. Yeah, something like that. From bought to Jim last September, and so Sangoma do hold these two of the largest open source telephony projects in the world. It was very, very disappointing to see that kind of rhetoric being just thrown around. I mean, we should kind of balance this with Jim, their VP of marketing, called both me and Fred the day afterwards to talk about things.
Even that, the fact that I think that was one of the things that alarmed us to begin with, was that the article wasn't written by an intern or by a staff member, but rather the VP of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So someone that's decently high up in the Sangoma world and wrote this article. So it's an executive leader.
Right.
Wrote an article
Part of their C-suite type level, driving the company forward. Yeah, it wasn't someone that just made a mistake, not someone that just had started yesterday and gone, oh, I need to sell more of those PV exact systems that we've got. No, it was a leader within that business. So I mean, yeah, to be fair, Jim came out and he called both of us to apologize and to see where they could go forward and make things right. They then followed up with a blog post the following day, saying, what did it say?
It said that we construed what he said incorrectly.
Yeah. So we were the ones that misunderstood the meaning of the blog post. The fact that so many people read that blog post and all had the same meaning means to me that we didn't misunderstand at all. But I
stepped in the right direction nonetheless.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that there's at least a balanced viewpoint here. They haven't just sat there with their same viewpoint. They have tried to do something about it. Whether or not it's the right thing, we can agree or disagree with Sangoma there. But yeah, incredibly frustrating, disappointing to see people that not people a company, whether or not that's Digium or whether or not that's Sangoma, outputting this crap. It's just incredibly sad.
I expect FUD from
And
Cisco. I expect it from Avaya, from systems like
right.
that. I don't expect it from.
There are ways of making money with open source. Sangoma before the Digium purchase, Sangoma had PBExact. Sangoma had phones. They had FreePBX consulting, I think, and commercial modules. They were obviously in a very good position to be able to then go and buy Digium, right? Digium weren't doing so well, at the time, everyone saw that as a good move, to a degree. Really, well, 99% of people saw that as a good move, and over the past year, it's very, very much felt like they're not so concentrated on open source. They're not even concentrated on making money while still having open source. It's over the past year, it's very, very much felt it's open source is getting in the way of making money.
Going to be a fun Astrocon.
Yeah, so Astracon's coming up in, what is it, 3 weeks time now?
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll both see Jim there.
Yeah, we'll both see Jim there, and I'm sure we'll both talk to Jim, as well as other members of the Sangoma team.
Are you both speaking at Astrocon?
Yes.
Yeah.
As of now, Jim.
I'll be speaking about getting started with WebRTC. What are you talking about, Fred?
Comma Ilio. 3 reasons to use Comma Ilio.
What are those reasons?
Asterisk. You'll have to. No.
You'll have to come to the conference to find out.
Right. Yeah. It deals with scaling security and stability.
Okay, right on. David Duffett was just in here the other day telling us about how he's going to be there talking as well. So what do you guys? Oh, go ahead.
We were how many open source talks were there, Fred? There were like 14.
15.
15. We were 2 of the 15 lucky enough to be speaking about non-Sangoma stuff.
Congratulations to you.
So yeah, no, I mean that's great. They've since opened up another track, so there's more than 15 non-Sangoma talks now.
I think that's one of the reasons why we were already, there's been a decent amount of change since the project moved to the Sangoma umbrella, including, for example, mentioning David Duffett. The loss of David Duffett as a community leader was felt by the community. The change of Astrocon is significant. There's no expo this year. There was, at the time of the blog post, there was only one open source track. Speakers, it's only 2 days instead of 3. So there's significant changes in Astrocon. And so I think when you started also seeing this type of FUD out there was a huge concern, so it wasn't, it was just a little too much. And there's concern as to what the future may hold. Now the juxtaposition here it was really nice to see right around the same time the switch of free switch to GitHub, for example, was inspiring. And inspiring is a weird word to use, but it was made more people optimistic, especially because some of the same things could have been said about SignalWire. Okay, well, now here's
Sure.
what's going on. SignalWire clearly has a commercial product, but at the same time, they're reaching out to the community. So there's ways to do it,
Right.
and there's ways to still promote open source and make people feel all happy
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
positive.
That's something that I think was a fear in the beginning when SignalWire went the way that, or when it all came out. I think that was a fear in the beginning, but because we still do so much with the community, it's not so scary, you know.
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was great to see. We had a huge. I mean, Dan, you weren't there, but Madison and I were at ClueCon this year, and it was huge. It was
Yeah.
much bigger than I had, because I didn't know there was a lot of new people, so that was great to see. I know that ComCon had the feedback that I heard from people who had gone there the first time ever to an open source uh, kind of community event were really blown away and can't wait for another one. JanusCon just had, a great, from what I hear, conference. So the open source community is one that will spend money and one that will actively participate in trying to make products better.
Hmm.
And so it's a great community, and it's one that really doesn't take a lot to keep happy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, what
Yeah.
makes you guys happy?
What makes us happy?
Yeah,
Um,
Sleep.
Healthy open source projects that that enable us to be able to go and do what we do. Um, that's what makes me happy. Well, I mean, technically, like in my day to day work, there's lots of other things that make me happy. But from a business perspective, from a community perspective,
yeah,
um, a strong open source community that works together well. Like you see all of these different projects all working together and enabling things. It you, you can't just go and use one because that's not how we build applications anymore.
right.
You end up you end up using two or three in within a project.
Hmm.
So having communities that know how to work well together without getting into arguments
Right.
and cooperate with development efforts and ideals. That's what makes me happy
Yeah.
from from a business perspective.
I'm just honored to be part of the community, to be quick about it. This is a great community. It's a community that shares, and it's a community that cares. And as hokey as that sounds, I live in Florida, and I get reached and pinged by more people when there's a hurricane from the open source community than my own family.
Yeah.
Saying, "Hey, are you okay? Is there anything
Yeah.
you need?" This is a community that is offers to help you with two hands, and it's a great community to be involved in, and it's very easy to become involved with the community.
Saying that, there is no WebRTC community. Um, there are VoIP people that use WebRTC, um, but there's no WebRTC community that like there's no I don't know Matrix group or Discord or anything like that where a group of us WebRTC people get together and chat. Um, it's very much an open source telephony community with a few RTC people, whether or not they're WebRTC or an other form of real time communications.
Well,
Um,
we don't discriminate against you, Dan.
no, we don't. We don't discriminate against amazing WebRTC people such as myself. But no, like, and what I'm trying to say is the open source telephony community is kind of this amazing thing. Um, I'd love to see that replicated with WebRTC. And that's kind of where ComCon is aiming to get in. It's not a telephony conference at all. It's an RTC conference, a bit like ClueCon, I guess. Whereas AstraCon is very much a VoIP type conference, a telephony conference, with a little bit of WebRTC tacked on the side. JanusCon is a WebRTC conference, and it should be, because Janus is a WebRTC thing, with a little bit of telephony tacked on the side.
And Comet Helio World is just an amazing conference.
Exactly.
Period.
Completely.
Period.
So I love the community as a whole, and I really think the telephony, open source telephony community is remarkable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So as we're coming to the end of our time here, is there anything that you guys would like to, any last thoughts you'd like to leave, or anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
With open source software, you can do a lot more than make a simple phone call. And we're a great community. We're out there to help you do whatever you would like to do with the software. We love to learn new things that can be done with the software that we haven't thought of, because some of us are getting old and not able to think as well. And we would love to see more people participate, and we welcome you.
Wow, how do you go after that? Open source software isn't going to be gone tomorrow, but if enough companies such as Sangoma put enough emphasis behind it, to say open source is bad, because you should come and buy our commercial platform, which strangely enough is built on open source software, then at some point someone's going to buy it, right? And open source telephony / software in general will take a hit. So I guess don't do that. Don't go and buy. don't go and write off open source software.
But do support the companies that are helping to do that.
Absolutely. Support.
I mean, we definitely want you to support those companies that are bringing it out there, but you don't have to use a commercial version of the product to do what you need to do.
Right.
And in
if
fact,
you want Asterisk support or FreePBX support, you can go to Sangoma /Digium and you can buy a support plan. If you want, if you want free switch support, you can go to SignalWire. It's the same with OpenSIPs and the same with Comet Helio. Same with Dractio. Same with any project. You can go and contribute financially if you want to. You can contribute with code. You can contribute with documentation. You can contribute by going onto wikis and fixing an article because it's 5 years old and it's just wrong now. You can go onto forums and help other users. There are so many ways of getting involved, and getting support in some manner, that we shouldn't just be limiting ourselves to open source is bad.
Absolutely. Well said, the two of you. Thank you both for coming on today. If anybody out there has any questions for Dan or Fred, go ahead and leave those in the comment section and we'll get those over to them. So guys, thanks so much. I hope you have a really great time at AstraCon. Safe travels, and we'll catch you next time.
Always great to see you, Madison. Dan, you're there.
Yeah, and thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching ClueCon Weekly.
Don't forget to give this video a like and a subscribe, and while you're at it, make sure to go and follow all of our other social media channels.
We'll see you right here next week, same time, same place, and catch you at ClueCon.